We're getting ready to put the hood back on the car, and we're cleaning up the hinges, and I noticed right away we had different size springs on there. Luckily in my junk pile I had some extra hinges. I found one to match.
And everything's wobbling. So we could get it fitted, and then if it keeps moving, it's kind of hard to get it adjusted when you got slack. If you didn't have any extra hinges, you'd have to support that and beat it until it mushrooms the metal, makes it tighter, and then it's just going to wear away again. That's what happens. So in order for him to work on it, he wants to get the springs off, and then you can easily manipulate this thing. But when you take a spring off and it's under tension, you don't want to get your fingers caught. You're going to get blood blisters. He's got gloves on. He's got safety glasses. If these things let go, you know, it's potential hazard. So you're going to see him pull on that thing and get it off. So it really isn't all that. Everybody thinks that it's really hard, but if you know what you're doing, you're hanging on to it, just don't let it get away on you. So the hinges were frozen, and now we're going to see if they function. Nope. So we got to keep lubing this stuff up, heat, hit it with a hammer, whack it, try to get all the joints loosened up. So if the spring would have been on here, we would have never been able to do this. You get it in a vise and you lube it up, you start whacking it, and when you whack it, there was mud all in here. All these parts have just been stored out in the open for 20 years, and crud gets in all the joints. And now you see it moves real freely. It's not, you know, the other one's real wobbly, but this one's all tight. Then we'll blow out all this oil and put lacquer thinner on it and then start de-rusting it, and then it can be primed and painted.
Spent the whole day wire wheeling up all the stuff that's going to be hot rod black to get the rest of the front end together. I'm working on these plugs here that are going to go where the windshield wiper arm splines used to be, coming up out of the cowler, and I'm going to fit it with a carriage bolt just so I have a nice rounded head appearance. It ain't perfect, but it's good enough for this car. We're going to paint them in satin black now. We're going to work on this fender alignment now a little bit, and then try to get the hood on afterwards. We got these gaps just kind of roughed in for the time being. We're running into some problems, like this door's got a bunch of Bondo at the bottom here. Might be bent out. And if you look at this contour, compared to the passenger side, it's like this is dingered in more, or the other side has Bondo or something. You can see the fender sticks out there a little bit. But that'll be addressed at a later date. We still gotta do the body work of the doors and fit those and see how it all looks. These rubber jobs control the hood side movement. It's a little bit premature putting them in now because the fender isn't painted yet, but it'll probably be a long time before this car is painted. As putting these jobs in, I noticed a couple are different. A little bit thicker at the top, so I put them in the back. Hopefully that's where they're supposed to go. It turns out that this thing just did catch on our box here, so we're just going to move it back a little bit into this recessed area. And this box is clearing this lip by about 1/16 of an inch. Jesus.
You're almost through.
Working on these bumper fillers here, trying to get all this paint off them. We're using a stripper, so we don't have to completely sand them. It's working, but this is a messy job.
This stuff gets old and brittle with age and it warps. All that stuff that was made back in the 70s, like spoilers and stuff, would all get wavy. Remember the Monza? Had that wing on the back, and they all warped. They weren't that sophisticated at making, like now everything's ABS plastic. I don't know what the stuff was made of, but the sun would beat on it and it would all get wavy.
It's the end of a Saturday, and just going to show you the daily progress here. We got the hood back on, got the gaps as best as we could get them, got this header lined up pretty good, and this is the best it's lined up since I've had the car. And we got the radiator back in. We'll pop the hood here. We bolted the fenders back down in the front there. I'll have to paint the hardware yet. And also got them bolted in on the underside. And this car is solid now. If you remember, this whole corner could be pulled up before. Getting ready to mount this tranny cooler. And I've made some tabs. I'm just going to tack these onto the core support. And then we got a thin wall aluminum angle that we're going to cut the size, drill, and then put some cross supports on there for it. It was talked about zip tying it right to the radiator, but that's not something I like to do. I don't like to put any extra stress on those cooling tubes in there. We got our aluminum angle in there nice and parallel, and just got it mocked up now. We're going to take this apart to clean it and paint everything here.
So what we got here are these filler panels that make up the space for this bumper that was supposed to be a 5-mile-per-hour impact crash bumper. And they wanted to keep, didn't want an air gap in between them, so you had to have these pieces in here, and they're flexible rubber. So if it got hit, they just folded up and then they went back out. Well, you have to put a flex agent in the paint so it doesn't crack when these things move. And I was trying to get a hold of my buddy at a body shop to find out if we should put it in the primer, but we're just going to go for it and put the stuff in the primer anyway, because we figured primer's paint, and if that's got to move too, we just don't want it to be. If you see these and people didn't use the flex agent, first time they get moved, the paint just crackles right off. This is the stuff, like if you had a Corvette front nose, or like the old 74 Monza Spider, anything that had them urethane front ends, you had to use this stuff, or sometimes somebody would lean against it and all of a sudden your paint would all peel off.
One of the bumper fillers had like a metal piece underneath it, and the other one didn't have it, so we made one out of aluminum. Here's one of the plugs that held those bumper fillers in, and I think I got exact repros coming from eBay. We're looking at some other ones, but they're not going to work. We're getting ready to bend the lines here, and I'm going to move this trans temp sending unit off of this line and into the pan. So we'll take this fitting off here and then run the new line right to the existing line. I need 3 inches from the fitting to the bend. Got a mark on the line. Just kind of eyeballing it. Back that ass up. Blow some air through there. Looks like a pretty good flare.
So one thing that I've come to appreciate about my partner here, and he works on stuff and he never lets anything get too big or torn apart too long, so that the machine can always keep rolling. You can fire it up and get it in and out. And I'm one of them guys that tears everything apart and then it stalls out and then it never gets done. sometimes when you rip everything apart, it does need to be done. You're thinking, oh, I only want to do this once, so I might as well have the frame all sandblasted, I should have all this done. But then sometimes it gets overwhelming and it never gets put back together. So it's better to keep your projects small, something that you can get done in a couple of weeks and keep it rolling.
We're getting ready to put these flaps back on the core support that help funnel the air through the radiator. And they're held on with these retainers. I found a 50 pack on eBay, and this is supposed to be the GM part number. These retainers also hold on these flexible bumper fillers. They won't be visible once the rest of the stuff is on the car. And these bottoms will be zip tied up to the bumper supports. That, or we'll build a plate of aluminum going across the bottom. So that's where the holes were. That's what we got. Our little load spreaders are drying out, so we'll put the sides on next. So we got our fillers in here. The color looks a little different, probably from that flex agent. And it sure looks like these things shrunk a little bit. That's about an equal amount. One side's fitting better than the other. I have another one we might clean up and try when it comes time to paint the car. But this is good enough for now. We're going to throw the grills on now, and then we'll focus on trying to get the bumper on.
Oh, yeah, nice. So now you see this car where the front end to the windshield is as good as we're going to do at this point until the vehicle gets painted the color that he wants. But, this is all solid. This used to be all sitting on rusted out parts. I mean, everything is solid, everything is rust free, and everything is the same color, flat black or hot rod black, and it's all cleaned up. So there might be a little bit of adjustment, trying to get the gaps, but you got it like this is, the same height and everything. These are now, like heat extractors, at least right now, until if we ever wanted to make a sealed box to it. These are all fixed up, painted gray. You gotta get some headlight bezels, get the headlights back in. And this is all rusty chrome before, and holes, that's solid. It won't be embarrassing driving it at nighttime.
Yeah, I got to line in some actual 74 bezels, so we'll try to fit those and see what happens, if they're not too expensive. And we'll get the car running next, and after that we're going to tackle the rear bumper to get it up off the floor. Thanks for watching.